9 days. That's how long the world searched for 4-year-old Paulette Gabara-Fara. Her face appeared on television, across social media, plastered on billboards and street corners. Her family gave interviews. Strangers volunteered. Police combed the area with the dogs. Experts swept through the luxury apartment she vanished from. Cameras rolled in her bedroom as her mother pleaded for her return. And through all of it, Paulette never left that room. She was there, dead, hidden beneath the bedding in her own bed. The very same bed her mother had sat on during press interviews. The very same bed Amanda, her mother's friend, had slept in during the search. The very same bed that investigators had reportedly examined repeatedly without finding a thing. This wasn't just a disappearance. It was a mystery soaked in contradictions, implausible explanations, and haunting footage. And it would end with a discovery so surreal, so infuriating, that even today, no one can agree on what really happened. To understand the chilling truth behind one of Mexico's most disturbing cases, we need to start at the moment it all began, March 21st, 2010, the last night Paulette was seen alive. It had been a typical Sunday evening. Paulette, her older sister Lizette, and their father Mauricio Gabara returned to their upscale apartment in Huixquilucan after a weekend trip to Valle de Bravo. The girl's mother, Lizette Fara, had stayed behind. That night, Fara tucked her daughters into bed like any other night. Paulette wore blue and red reindeer pajamas. She couldn't speak clearly, and she couldn't walk on her own due to a motor and speech disability. She required constant care, and that care was routine. But the next morning, March 22nd, that routine shattered. At 7:30 a.m., one of the nannies, Erica, entered Paulette's room to wake her. But the girl was gone. Her bed was empty. No signs of struggle. No sound had been heard overnight. Erica alerted Fara, and a frantic search began within the apartment. Mauricio was contacted. Within hours, the police arrived and launched a formal search. The doors and windows were locked. There was no sign of forced entry. The housing complex had 24/7 surveillance. No footage showed Paulette leaving. She couldn't have left on her own. She couldn't have climbed out a window or walked through the lobby. And yet she had vanished without a trace. The case immediately went national. That same evening, Lizette Fara appeared on television, tearfully asking whoever had taken her daughter to return her. She pleaded, saying they could leave her at a mall or a crowded place, and there would be no consequences. Her voice cracked with emotion. She looked straight into the camera from her daughter's bed. She sat on the mattress where Paulette was lying dead. As the days passed, the search intensified. Flyers with Paulette's face flooded the streets. Advertisements aired on TV and public transport. Paulette's father, Mauricio, also spoke to the press, recounting how he had left for work that Monday morning. He urged the public to help find his daughter. Friends and relatives circulated Paulette's photo on social media, sparking widespread public sympathy and involvement. But by March 29th, something shifted. The Attorney General of the state of Mexico, Alberto Baz, announced that both parents and the two nannies were under a restriction order. They weren't arrested, but they were now under watch. Their movements were limited. The reason: inconsistencies and contradictions in their statements. According to Baz, all four had, at different points, lied. Their conflicting timelines and evasive answers had stalled the investigation. Investigators decided to reenact the night of Paulette's disappearance inside the apartment. Blankets were placed, cameras rolled, every movement was documented. And then something happened that changed everything. In the early hours of March 31st at 2 a.m., a forensic team entered Paulette's room once again. They recorded everything. One investigator, without touching anything, casually stated that Paulette had been severely beaten. Then they pulled back the blanket at the foot of the bed and paused. 2 large dark bloodstains were visible on the sheets, one of them reportedly the size of an adult's head. As they continued pulling away the covers, Paulette's tiny body was revealed, twisted into a narrow gap between the mattress and the frame of the bed, partially covered by the bedding. There was no gasping, no reaction of horror from the investigators, no shock in their voices. They continued narrating their findings in flat, mechanical tones, like actors reciting a script. She had been there the whole time. That same day, Attorney General of the State of Mexico, Alberto Bosbos, held a press conference. He announced that Paulette's death had been ruled an accident. According to his office, she had died of mechanical asphyxia, caused by obstruction of her nose and compression of her chest. In other words, she had suffocated after somehow wriggling her body down into the small gap at the foot of the bed, where she became trapped. She had not been moved after death. There were no drugs or toxins in her body. There were no signs of sexual violence, but there were problems. The autopsy revealed that Paulette had eaten 5 hours before her death. There were bruises on her elbow and knee. 2 rectangular adhesive cloths were found on her cheeks, explained as medical tape, supposedly used to keep her mouth shut while sleeping. And yet no one had mentioned this detail in the days prior. Her time of death was placed between 5 and 9 days before discovery, which meant, if the report was accurate, Paulette had died the night she vanished. The question that exploded across media and public discourse was simple. How? How could trained police officers, search dogs, forensic teams, family members, and even Farah's friend Amanda, who slept in that room and made the bed daily, not notice the body of a decomposing child? How did no one notice the bloodstains, the smell of putrefaction, the twisted shape of a small body beneath a mattress? Amanda later claimed that the bed had been made every morning, that she had never seen anything strange. But in the forensic video, the blood is clearly visible. Amanda was investigated briefly, but no charges were filed. She eventually wrote a book, Where's Paulette?, questioning the authorities' narrative and sharing her version of events. Public trust began to crack. Then came the pajamas. In one of Farah's earlier televised interviews, filmed before the body was found, a pair of blue and red reindeer pajamas are clearly visible in the background of the room. They appear to be neatly folded or laid out, clean. After Paulette's body was discovered, it was revealed that she had been wearing blue and red reindeer pajamas when she died. When confronted with this discrepancy, Farah claimed the pajamas belonged to her other daughter. But those same pajamas continued to appear in Paulette's closet during later interviews. Authorities were never told that there was a second identical pair. What happened to those pajamas? Why were they there? Why did no one ever follow up? Another bombshell dropped when a recorded conversation between Farah and her surviving daughter was leaked. In the audio, Farah instructs her daughter not to talk about Paulette's disappearance. The child asks why. Farah replies, because otherwise they'll blame us for stealing her. At first, Farah claimed the audio was doctored. Later, she admitted it was real, but said it had been taken out of context. Farah's behavior was already under scrutiny. A psychological evaluation described her as having personality disorders. She filed for legal protection against the restriction order, insisting she had nothing to do with her daughter's death. Meanwhile, her husband publicly stated that he no longer trusted her and didn't believe it had been an accident. On April 6th, Paulette was buried at the Panteón Francés de San Joaquin. Only Farah attended. The Gabara family refused to be present, citing an agreement. The next day, they denied Farah the right to see her surviving daughter. Legal battles over custody soon followed. Weeks later, Bosbos continued to defend the investigation, but the pressure was too great. On May 26th, he resigned, stating that an attorney general must have the trust of the public, and he no longer had it. Years passed. On May 3, 2017, 7 years after Paulette's death, her body was exhumed and cremated. Authorities claimed her remains were no longer needed as evidence, but to this day the questions remain. Why was Paulette's body not found earlier? How could so many people search the same space over and over and miss a decomposing child? Why were the investigators so eerily calm during the discovery? And perhaps most disturbingly, was the 2 a.m. video of the discovery even real? Many experts believe it wasn't. The camera angle was too perfect, the narration too controlled. The forensic expert stating Paulette had been beaten before even uncovering her body made no sense. There were no genuine reactions, It looked like a scripted reenactment. If that footage was staged, it wouldn't just mean the public was misled. It would mean the discovery of Paulette's body wasn't the moment investigators found her. It was the moment they revealed her. And that terrifying possibility still lingers in the air, that someone knew where Paulette was the entire time. But for reasons no one has yet dared to explain, they kept it secret.